Hi, my name is Chelsea Mason, and today I'll be covering the topics of Module 8, which is Shaping the Future of Student Affairs. So I'll start by discussing the two issues from this week's chapters that resonate with me the most, which is support services for untraditional students and international students. So I think the biggest thing to note is that right now, or well, never again will there be one type of college student in higher education. More and more students have careers, working part time, working full time, have families, going to school at a much older age, have other obligations in their lives besides just going to college and just being a student. Many students come from just a multitude of different backgrounds, rigor, financial ability, and personal experiences and perspectives. And so I think it's really important that these types of students are being addressed as well, and that we're accommodating and creating resources for them, having events that they can go to where they feel represented, and just other things like that. The average college student might be a transfer student living on campus. Like I said, much older age, international student, commuter student, first generation student, and that's just to name a few. And if we're not creating resources that cater to them specifically, chances are that they'll have a hard time succeeding. So, like I said, I believe that we have to adjust our systems and resources to accommodate for these types of students. And we have to make sure that we're creating an environment where all students can succeed, not just the average student that doesn't exist anymore. This means also providing resources. For example, I have many friends who have served and are now considered veterans. And many of my friends who are veterans are pursuing their degrees now. And a lot of them have shared the difficulties that they've faced in that have been associated with them pursuing their education. Many have told me about the lack of resources, the lack of support that they've received, and how it's been just really, really hard for them to adjust to, college life. So veteran support services is one area specifically that we should improve to make sure that veterans have the tools that they need to successfully transition into the rigors of college life. So one way we can do this is by having a veteran support services center on campus. I know many schools do have this. For example, my last institution that I worked at, Georgia Gwinnett College, they have an awesome veterans center, and students would hang out there. Even veterans who attend other colleges and institutions in Georgia go to GGC to hang out in the Veterans Center because they feel like that's a place where they can go and relax and hang out and have the resources and have like-minded people around them. And that's not the case at a lot of schools. The institution that I currently work for does have a veterans services area, but it's part of a larger office. And so students who I know who have gone to this school and have been in contact with the veterans support here feel like it can be expanded upon, and that's how they would feel more represented on campus. Also having events for them. I know at my last institution we had a brunch on Memorial Day for our veterans, just to show them that we really do appreciate them and appreciate them being a part of our institution. So that's one way we can get involved with veteran services. As far as international students or other types of untraditional students, we can get involved by having offices where they can feel represented, like the internationalization office, having cultural events for them, allowing them to feel represented in our events by offering speakers that look like them or have similar backgrounds is really important. One thing that we do have at the current institution I work at is a speaker series, and so many of our speakers will really reflect our student body. And so I think that's really important and a great way to really show that we do embrace all of our students. Um, the next topic that I'll cover was just talking about um, the higher ed profession and how one really gets into student affairs. I think that is a really interesting topic because it was mentioned in the readings that not many people just automatically think about student affairs as a profession. Many people kind of realize that student affairs exist just based on their own experiences in undergrad working in a role of a student affairs role, which is true for me. I did work for many different offices on campus when I was a student. In undergrad, I worked for the Welcome Center, I worked for Residence Life, I worked for Behavioral Science Lab on campus. I worked in a lot of different areas, and so I was able to see the importance of student affairs on students, and that was true for my own experience as my mentors impacted my life. And so that's how I really got into student affairs. So everything that was said in that article was exactly true to my life. I think the difference in my life too was I had an outside experience, something that I experienced outside of student affairs, which was me working at a nonprofit program in a high school. I was working as a teacher slash tutor, and so just the K through 12 level was not college student affairs as we know it. So I was working with students, and I really got to see in what areas they were lacking. And one area was just encouragement and just the understanding that my students could go to college. That was not something that was really shared with them. And so I wanted to work with them to let them know that college was an option for them, regardless of their backgrounds and regardless of what anybody had ever told them. But I just, in knowing about that lack of resources, I wanted to put myself in a position where I could help students kind of transition into college and, have that support along the way, knowing that I can go to college and I can be successful in college. So that was really my path to student affairs. The last topic for this module is just talking about technology, and not surprising that one of the major influences for this generation of college students is the comfort level that they have with technology and multitasking with technology. Social media is a huge thing, and it's a super significant influence in how millennials relate to each other and how they perceive their experiences in life and in college specifically. As a millennial myself, it is really easy for me to identify with the level of technology. There are some things that I'm behind in. There's, social media platforms that I've never heard of and that I've never used, with being out of undergrad for a little while now. So I think that, as we're moving forward and technology is continuing to advance, there is going to be a learning curve. But I think as student affairs professionals, we can really get in front of this by just being open to incorporating it into our own programming and initiatives. And so one way that I implement it is by using social media for my residence hall and, for example, my community hall council, for the application process, for the any voting and anything like that needs to occur. We do publish it and market to our students using our social media platform. Any events that we have, we'll always post it on our social media, as well as digital monitors around the residence hall instead of physical flyers, just to kind of meet students where they are. I think we can continue to work on this, but definitely have to be mindful that social media can be a dangerous place, and that once you put something out there, you can't take it back. And for something like social media where students could have the ability to comment, it's really hard to monitor and to make sure that, things are not being harmful, and that, we're still creating a really safe environment for them. But with all of that in mind, that's my response to this week's module. It's been a pleasure being in this class, and I really loved hearing everyone's discussions this whole semester, and I wish everybody super great success in this program, and hopefully we'll meet again in another class. But have a great week.